In the previous solo episode, we finally went from all the options you have in life and boiled it down to the one thing that you are going to focus on. Aside from your actual foundational priorities in life, like family, friends, wellness, we decided what is the one main thing that you want to focus on achieving. I shared 3 quick and simple ways to choose that one thing. Now, most of you can probably think of something to focus on, but just in case, today's episode is made for those of us who are still stuck coming up with an idea for a goal. We'll talk about the 6 myths of productivity, the dream blockers that could be getting in the way, and share a bunch more ways to brainstorm ideas for your one thing if you need some extra brainstorming power. I love creating content about goal setting and clarity about our big dreams. But even with a lot of tips and tricks, people still do get stuck. I find when we have trouble brainstorming an idea to focus on, then there's usually something getting in the way. When something is getting in the way from letting us dream big like this, it's often the case that we need to reset our personal operating system. You know how we reset our devices by adding updates and upgrading to the current operating software, or OS for short? Well, our minds need updates too, but we often fail to see it this way. And if you've ever been prompted by a device to update now or remind me tomorrow, if you're anything like me, you almost always hit update later. Now, this isn't the end of the world when it comes to our devices, but with our minds and our goals, it's important not to put things off. In an earlier episode of Just Keep Learning, I'm pretty sure it was episode 27, Ben Ye shared this concept beautifully. And I've seen many other content creators replicate it. Thought leaders and coaches say similar things about the need to upgrade our personal operating systems. The way I picture it is like this. Our mind is like an operating system of our personal goal-setting computer, so to speak. And just like any trusty, rusty laptop, it's got to get with the times and get spruced up to run a little smoother, adapt, and get the latest and greatest features. But a bit different than a computer, as humans, we kind of need to know what the old operating system was and why it's not working in the first place. It doesn't need to take long, but in order to add new software, so to speak, we need to remove the old one, and put another way, we need to drop off our old baggage before we can pick up the new stuff. Such old operating systems or baggage can show up in 2 forms. We may have dream blockers that hold us back, or we may believe in some myths about productivity, or both. So first, we want to make sure that we don't have any dream blockers. We block ourselves from big dreams for a variety of reasons. While this list could be extremely long, here are 6 of the reasons that I see a lot and one way to overcome each. 1. Thinking. Our imagination is running so wild that we can't calm down to take patient, consistent action. Learning some calming techniques, perspective, and slowing down will lead to more patience and less overthinking. 2. Mentors. Well-meaning family, teachers, coaches, friends, or people we don't even really know that well tell us that our dream is unrealistic. But by leaning into people who support us unconditionally, we can start to truly believe in ourselves. 3. Dreams. Not understanding the definition and checklist that makes up a big dream. By checking off the elements that must exist to qualify as a big dream, we can find our own clarity. 4. Comfort. Settling because we like the safety and comfort that we have, but if we practice new things quicker than we're ready for, we'll actually create optimal stress levels for growth. 5. Doubt. Lacking the required confidence to believe and take action toward progress. Not putting others on a pedestal because we all start somewhere equals freedom to be vulnerable for ourselves and to compare ourselves to others less. And finally, 6 is just a mix. Struggling so much with a combination of these things that we've lost our imagination altogether. But if we appreciate that our potential increases with age, we can allow ourselves to take a step back and brainstorm a little more effectively. Now, those are the 6 dream blockers, and one or many or all of those could be getting in the way a little bit. And there are also myths of productivity that could be holding us back too. It's important to remember that there is nothing to celebrate about being busy. Being busy is easy, but being efficient and directing our energy at the right things is a challenge. The book The One Thing offers 6 productivity myths that, similar to the dream blockers, can hold us back. First off, the idea that everything matters equally. Actually, the Pareto principle reminds us that 20% of our efforts generate 80% of our results. So what is the most important thing? 2, that multitasking gets more done. In reality, multitasking leads to greater stress, divided attention, and confusion. Our true superpower should be the ability to focus in on one thing. 3, that we must live a disciplined, motivated life. In reality, motivation shouldn't be a challenge because we actually just need to turn off the thinking brain by creating powerful systems, habits, and growing with consistency each day. For the creative mind, if we rely on discipline, we will probably fail. It's important to ask ourselves, what system am I using to get things done? 4, that willpower is summoned when we need it. Truthfully, willpower just gets depleted with each use. We must use it sparingly and rely on our values, systems, and schedules to put in the work. If we focus on willpower in and of itself, then we will burn out. 5, that we should strive to live a balanced life. Actually, a balanced life means compromising in every area, but success comes from full focus and dedication within our habits. So instead, we need to apply counterbalance, allowing ourselves to go out of balance while still addressing our key areas. And 6, take baby steps because big is bad. In reality, big thinking and huge leaps tend to drive more valuable actions and results, and it's worthwhile to push our limits and imagine huge outcomes as soon as possible. Now that we know our dream blockers and we've reviewed the productivity myths that might be getting in the way, oftentimes people are stressed around just the simple idea of picking one priority. Why should we pick just one thing to focus on? And this is one of the biggest misconceptions and challenges I have with supporting people in getting clarity over their goals, is that it doesn't mean that we won't pick other things later. It doesn't mean that things don't exist now, but we do need to have one priority to focus on in order to truly overcome those dream blockers and productivity myths. Now, I recognize that a lot of people, teens especially, feel pressure to decide what they want to do for work. The stress that this puts on people really pisses me off, and it could be a high school student planning for their future or someone midlife thinking of what their side hustle could be. Feeling like there only needs to be one thing is stressful, and I get that. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't pick something. We definitely should. What it does mean is that we don't need to worry about how long that remains our one thing. So we pick one thing for the sake of overcoming barriers, but we can always plant new seeds, we can always adapt, pivot, and change. None of us know how life will play out. That's just the reality. It's a fact, not an opinion, and so we shouldn't even stress about whether or not our goal will come true. But we should pick one thing and take the next step. But we need not worry about how. I love what Marsha Weeder said in another earlier episode of JKL, where she said that this is going to be a great show, but promise me you won't worry about how or when, just trust that it will be and keep going. I'll never forget those words of wisdom that she shared, and it's true that we can't control any outcome. And in reality, we may end up on plan C or even plan D, E, F, and so on. But the other reality is that we can't even get to plan B if we don't at least have a plan A. The momentum that comes from picking one thing and sticking with it for a while is super valuable. Remember, you could do anything, but you can't do everything. So what is the most important thing at this moment that you want to do? And this is the fun part. It's so simple. Super, super simple, yet really challenging at the same time to pick your one thing. It's kind of like going into a magical restaurant with a menu that is hundreds of pages long, including every meal in the world, yet you get to pick just one. We would become paralyzed by thought. Now, I've recently shared some strategies for brainstorming and selecting your one thing, but in case you're still stuck, I want to share a few extra ways that you could figure this out. Kind of like a bonus few more ways to come up with your one thing. Here are 3 additional questions to help you take a different approach to fine-tuning that decision of what you think you want to try. 1. Brainstorm all of your past ambitions that you did not pursue. Circle 1 or 2 of them that you would still consider in the future and ask yourself why you haven't done it yet. The second, another great strategy, is to do the opposite. List all the things that, given your dream life does exist, what things would not be part of your life. Our time is precious, and even though it may seem like a waste to put energy into thinking about things that you don't want, sometimes this way of flipping the question around, asking what we do want, helps us narrow down the things that we do want. And 3, as you debate and sort your passions with the goal of narrowing them down to one thing, take part in a reflective activity such as walking, sitting in a hot tub, sauna, taking a shower, riding a bike, going for a run, a drive, yoga, or simply sitting still and asking yourself the following questions. What do you care about most? What would you give up if you were able to achieve your big dream? Why do you think you are hesitant toward chasing audacious goals? What worthwhile, lasting ambitions would serve your purpose, values, and bring you great joy if you could do a little more of them? If you were to succeed in one big thing, such that by succeeding in that, nothing else would matter in terms of work or success, what would that accomplishment be? What do people you trust say when you ask them about what they think you would enjoy doing in life? What things do you think you would be willing to work on for the next 25 years? And finally, if you could go back in time, change things, or simply start earlier, what things would you do differently? All right, there you go. We know that every so often we need to hack into our minds and upgrade our operating system or drop off our old baggage, because we'll just feel more free if we let go of the outdated stuff and start coming up with new ideas. We can do this by making sure that there are no dream blockers or productivity myths getting in our way, and then every so often do a little check-in with ourselves to make sure that the prompts for figuring out our one thing are actually supporting what we still want to do. We don't have to answer all of these questions. We can use one of them, we can change them up, but it's just another way to give you some ideas about clarifying what that one thing could and should be for you right now. As we install these brain clarity updates, we'll boost our mind's horsepower, which keeps us fired up for the game of life. So if you haven't already, stop putting it off until later, like I do with my devices, and just hit that update now button. JKL community, thank you so much for listening. It would mean the world if you checked out the other interview episodes, but mostly just thank you to those who pass this along to others who may benefit from learning, growth mindset, and goal setting. Until the next episode, all the best, and remember, just keep learning.